Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take that curiosity you have and really turn it into some solid insights. Today we're embarking on a pretty unique journey, I think. It's a deep dive into a book that really pulls back the curtain on therapy, but not just from the therapist side of things, also really vividly from the patient's couch. We were talking about Lori Gottlieb's huge bestseller, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, a therapist, her therapist, and Our Lives Revealed. Now, for this deep dive, we've gathered insights from a great companion workbook, actually. It gives us some fascinating facts, tidbits about the book's success, which was phenomenal. Also, its content, which is so rich and candid, the author herself, how it was received, and even like what's next for it. So our mission for you today, it's really to unpack some surprising truths about human connection, about vulnerability, and maybe most importantly, the really transformative power of asking for help. You're going to discover why this book hit such a nerve with so many people and maybe gain some insights into those universal struggles and, triumphs we all share.
Yeah, and what's really striking, I think, about this deep dive is how it lets you explore not just the mechanics of therapy, like what actually happens in that room, but also those deep emotional currents that, drive all of us. We'll be looking at what it means to be both the expert, the guide, and also just a vulnerable human being, and how in Gottlieb's world, those two roles aren't separate. They actually enhance understanding and empathy. They make the whole experience richer, really.
Okay, so let's unpack this approach because it is unique. Maybe you should talk to someone. It's not just a book, right? It's this groundbreaking mix of memoir and deep psychological insight. It tells Gottlieb's own story, her personal stuff, professional struggles. But at the same time, it takes us right inside her therapy room. We get to see her analyzing the experiences of 5 of her patients. And what's really compelling, I think, is how her own personal journey kind of casts her as a patient right from the start. I mean, picture this. She's a therapist, and her long-term boyfriend just abruptly ends things. Why? Because he doesn't want to father her child. And this decision just completely turns her world upside down and pushes her, a seasoned psychotherapist, to seek therapy herself.
And that event is absolutely crucial because it immediately sets up this dual nature of the book, like you said. We see Gottlieb first as, just a person dealing with heartbreak, denial, real personal crisis. And then we see her as this skilled, empathetic therapist guiding her patients.
Yeah, it's like the book itself is almost a kind of therapy. It distills her own raw views, her sharp clinical observations, and it's just packed with these fascinating psychology tidbits. And she doesn't hold back either. She shares her own flaws, her stumbles through heartache, self-sabotage, denial, narrating it all with this incredible honesty and often this surprising humor, actually.
Exactly. And that's what makes the structure so unique and powerful. Presenting her as both therapist and patient, that's really what sets it apart. It gives you this unparalleled, really intimate look at psychological change, how we deal with loss, that search for purpose we all have, and the complicated ways we connect with people. And Gottlieb herself, mid-40s, single mom, psychotherapist, she brings this life experience that just resonates deeply with readers.
Totally.
She's inviting you not just inside her clinical mind, but into her heart too. It creates this remarkably intimate bond with the reader because you see her as the expert, but also someone going through the same messy human stuff.
Right.
And this dive into her own vulnerability, it's absolutely key. Gottlieb shows how being really open, truly open to others, is essential for progress, not just for her patients, but for her too. We see it in her own therapy journey and through her patients' confessions, their dreams, their stories. She's not afraid to talk about herself, her stumbles, her breakthroughs, and this dual perspective, it's so powerful because it helps normalize therapy. It shows that even the experts, the people providing the treatment, seek it too.
Yeah, that's huge.
It really underscores that therapy is a journey of change and progress for everyone involved, patient, clinician, everyone. It shows her personal transformations track right alongside her patient's progress. It's a testament to our shared humanity, really.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. It almost feels like you're invited into this privileged behind-the-scenes group therapy session.
Yeah.
Gottlieb introduces us to a handful of her patients, and through their conversations, which feel so real, we witness genuineness, boldness, care, sensitivity, real depth of feeling, even when things are chaotic. And the structure's clever, like you said. It flips between her past memories, bringing them in for context, and her present life as a therapist.
Yeah.
Each chapter starts with a short chart note, like a concise clinical summary, almost like what a therapist would actually write down.
Right.
It introduces the patient and their main psychological struggles.
Right, those little snapshots.
Exactly. And it's not just the patients. It's also fascinating seeing Gottlieb
In her own therapy, with her weirdly intriguing therapist, Wendell Bronson, she talks openly about her anxieties, her resistance at first, even like cringing at some of her own questions, which honestly just makes her so much more relatable.
Oh, completely.
She thought she just needed a few sessions,
Yeah.
get over the breakup. But she ends up staying much longer, learning things about herself she never expected. It's a real lesson in how therapy can be so unexpected, so profound.
And that really brings up an important question for you, the listener. How does she manage it? How does she make these really diverse, deeply personal patient stories feel so universally relatable, even if the specifics are totally different from your life?
Yeah, how does she do that?
Well, she emphasizes that while the patients are anonymized, obviously for privacy, their underlying human experiences, the fear, the grief, the anger, the search for connection, those are universal. She turns their unique experiences into these sort of vessels for your own understanding. Let's maybe talk about a few of these stories. Some are tragic, some end up quite triumphant.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so take John. He's this powerful TV executive, a real bigwig, initially just full of anger, blaming everyone else for his problems. He even makes up these elaborate lies, right? At one point claiming he accidentally killed his son in a car crash, which just screams avoidance and deep pain.
Wow, yeah.
But Gottlieb, through gentle but persistent work, creating that safe space, she manages to break through his defenses, his really strong defenses. She helps him see his anger was basically a shield, protecting him from the unbearable pain of losing his son, Gabe.
Right.
And by finally letting him process that raw grief, he slowly starts to be able to express his real feelings to his wife. It's the beginning of healing for him.
That's powerful.
Then there's Rita, a woman in her 60s, multiple divorces, estranged from her kids, and she gives Gottlieb this shocking ultimatum: to change her life in a year or she'll cease living.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Gottlieb works with her to move past blame and self-pity, helping her uncover these long-buried passions, find purpose again. Especially through art painting, ceramics, that creative outlet becomes this metaphor for rebuilding her life. And eventually she starts tentatively dating her neighbor, Myron, after years of basically avoiding emotional connection.
So there's hope there.
Definitely. Her journey is this powerful testament to finding meaning, finding connection, even later in life. And then there's Julie, incredibly poignant story. She's a newlywed, diagnosed with aggressive cancer, given maybe 1 to 5 years left.
Devastating.
Yeah. Initially, she's just enraged by the cruelty of it all. Grappling with the injustice, the uncertainty, Gottlieb guides her through the storm of feelings, helps her come to terms with the unimaginable. And it culminates in this incredibly powerful, really unorthodox session where Julie just unleashes obscenities, screaming her rage, her frustration.
And Gottlieb
joins her in this primal scream. It's this raw human moment. The therapist meeting the patient exactly where she is, unfiltered.
Wow.
Julie's eventual quiet death and the profound impact she had, it's just a moving reminder of the courage in facing mortality and living fully right up to the end.
That's, heavy stuff.
And finally, quickly, there's Charlotte. She's 21. Bright, but feels she's completely wrecked her life with drinking, disastrous relationships, always drawn to emotionally unavailable people.
A common pattern, unfortunately.
Very. And Gottlieb helps her unravel the complex reasons behind these self-destructive patterns. Through their work, Charlotte starts understanding the roots of her choices, prepares for addiction treatment, and develops healthier ways to relate to herself and others. So these portraits, some tragic, some triumphant, they allow Gottlieb to reflect, to self-analyze. They reveal not just the patient's inner worlds, but also how patients see their therapists and those unspoken rules therapists follow, like managing their own reactions, keeping boundaries.
Right.
You really do see yourself, your own struggles, your hopes reflected in their journeys. It's uncanny sometimes.
So hearing these stories, these transformations, what does it all mean for you, the listener? And who is Lori Gottlieb? Like beyond the book?
Well, she's an acclaimed writer, obviously, a highly respected therapist practicing in LA. She co-hosts that popular iHeartRadio podcast, Dear Therapists, and writes a really insightful weekly advice column for The Atlantic. But her path to becoming a therapist is interesting in itself. It shows this deep commitment to understanding and actually altering lives. Yeah, tell us about that.
She was born in 1966, graduated from Stanford back in '89, had a successful career as a writer, journalist. But especially after becoming a parent, she decided she wanted to do more than just report on lives. She wanted to help rewrite them.
Ah, okay.
So this big shift leads her back to school. She gets a master's in clinical psychology from Pepperdine in 2010. Her training's extensive clinical training at the Wright Institute, postdoc internship at the Maple Counseling Center. She specialized in mindful parenting, couples therapy too, with a Gottman certified therapist.
Right.
You know, the Gottman method, that research-based couples therapy.
Right. Very well respected.
Exactly. And her public profile is huge. NPR commentator, editor at The Atlantic, writes for the New York Times, Slate appearances on the Today Show Good Morning America. Her TED Talk was one of the most viewed in 2019, and her latest thing is that practical companion workbook we mentioned.
Yeah, she's really out there. And what's truly illuminating is her core philosophy. It underpins everything she does, book, and practice. When people come to therapy, she says she doesn't just listen to the words. She listens for the music underneath the words.
The music underneath the words. Okay, what do they mean exactly?
It means paying attention to the unspoken stuff, the conflicts, the recurring patterns in their story, the emotions bubbling under the surface, not just the issue they say they're there for. So like a client might say, oh, I'm fine, but they're fidgeting, their eyes looking down, maybe a tremor in their voice, that's the music telling a different story. Maybe I'm actually terrified of what you'll see, if I'm really honest.
Got it. So looking beyond the surface.
Exactly. She sees her job as compassionately holding up mirrors, helping clients see themselves more clearly and, crucially, see themselves how others might see them. And she makes this really important distinction between what she calls idiot compassion and wise compassion.
Okay, idiot compassion versus wise compassion. Explain that.
So idiot compassion is basically not telling the truth to make someone feel better short term. You avoid the discomfort. Wise compassion, though, is about holding up that mirror, like we said, but doing it compassionately and delivering what she calls a truth bomb.
A truth bomb, okay.
Yeah. So like idiot compassion for someone self-sabotaging might be, oh, it's okay, you're doing your best. But wise compassion, like her own therapist Wendell showed her, might be more like, you say you desperately want change, but you keep avoiding the steps that could get you there. What's really holding you back?
Okay. Direct but caring.
Exactly. Delivered carefully so it can actually be heard, not just rejected. Gottlieb also challenges that common idea that we often underestimate our issues, thinking our pain isn't a big deal because other parts of life are okay.
Right. First world problems kind of thinking.
Right. Kind of, yeah. But she insists, really simply, pain is pain, regardless of the good stuff. She even talks about her own anxieties, wondering if her therapist liked her, which shows how clients often seek approval. And she warns against Googling your therapist, says the fragmented stuff you find online can be overwhelming, misleading, and actually harm the therapy relationship.
Good advice.
Ultimately, her big hope for the book is to demystify therapy, to show you what it really is and isn't, and how genuinely life-changing it can be, revealing those heroic moments often buried in our struggles. She wants to make counseling more accessible by just showing her own humanity. And in doing that, she challenges the huge stigma around therapy.
Which is still so needed.
Absolutely. She often compares emotional health to physical health. Like, you should be able to talk about seeing a therapist as easily as seeing your doctor for a checkup. And she challenges that old idea that couples counseling means you're about to break up. She argues it's a sign of strength, a proactive way for couples, even engaged ones, to learn communication before crises hit.
That makes so much sense. Build the foundation strong. And the reception to the book. Maybe you should talk to someone. It was just phenomenal, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely huge.
Not just a New York Times bestseller. Time magazine called it a must-read book of the year. Nominated for a nonfiction Goodreads Choice Award. Katie Couric, who's known for being pretty discerning, called Gottlieb, both a brilliant writer and a great therapist, said she'd never read a book that made her laugh out loud while also just completely engrossing her.
High praise indeed.
Yeah, and it came from all over. Leslie Jamison found it fascinating. Ariana Huffington called it brave, amusing, and transformational. Even Irvin Yalom, the Stanford psychiatry professor, a giant in the field, he said he'd never read a psychotherapy book quite like it. Called it bold, brassy, full of wonderful tales, honest, profound, and engaging.
Wow, from Yalom, that's significant.
Right. And Amy Dickinson called it the finest book she's ever read about talk therapy's life-altering potential. Gottlieb herself said people were often surprised to fall in love with a therapy book, but she insists this is not a book about treatment. It is a book on human nature.
And that's it, isn't it? That universal human nature focus. That's what makes it so relatable, so impactful.
Exactly.
So if we sort of zoom out a bit, that widespread positive reception, It just powerfully affirms her main themes, our common humanity, the incredible power of vulnerability, that universal desire we all have for change, for connection, and the impact. It goes way beyond just the book now. It's branched out into all these different initiatives, spreading her message even wider.
Like what kind of things?
Well, there's the workbook. Maybe you should talk to someone. The workbook came out in November 2021. It's an official companion, guides you through becoming the author of your own life, helps you figure out which stories to keep, which to maybe reinterpret, which to change.
Oh, cool. Like practical exercises?
Yeah, exactly. And the book's being turned into a TV drama series. Gottlieb's a producer on it, making sure it stays authentic, which should bring the message to a huge global audience.
A TV show. Wow.
Yeah. Her podcast, Dear Therapists, with Guy Winch. Season 3 came out May 2022. New sessions, guest follow-ups, still guiding people through life's trials with really practical, compassionate advice. She also keeps up her private practice, obviously. Individuals, couples, specialized counseling for reproductive health stuff. Even does some phone or Skype consults for specific issues, though not for complex disorders.
It's easy.
Very. And beyond the clinical work, she's involved in broader things too. Collaborating with CBS News, the Atlantic for Mental Health Awareness Month, projects like Recipe for Change, standing up to anti-Semitism. It shows her commitment to tackling stigma, improving societal well-being. She was also on the School of Greatness podcast, talking relationships, breaking toxic patterns. She's really engaging across different platforms.
Okay, so we've just done this really profound deep dive into Lori Gottlieb's Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. We've explored that raw honesty of therapy from both sides of the couch, literally. We've seen how vulnerability, asking for help, it's not weakness, is it? It's actually this powerful, universal path towards real change and deeper human connection.
Absolutely, and it leaves you with a really important question to think about, doesn't it? If Lori Gottlieb, a highly skilled, experienced therapist, can grapple with self-doubt, feel that anxiety about needing approval, even Google her own therapist, and still find profound healing and growth, what does that tell us about our own capacity for change? And how might that challenge the stories we sometimes tell ourselves about our struggles and maybe about our deepest desires too?
Yeah, that's a powerful thought to end on. We really hope this deep dive has given you plenty to chew on, maybe spark some new reflections for you. We definitely encourage you to explore more of Lori Gottlieb's work, whether it's the original book, the workbook, her column in The Atlantic, or the Dear Therapists podcast. There's just a wealth of wisdom there waiting for you, offering comfort, maybe some challenge, but ultimately a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take that curiosity you have and really